against those kind of aggressive units that are coming towards you, and that's kind of what we expect from this East Asia region as well. Crazy Raccoon, though, with 17% is not something I would have expected in the majority of matchups. They are against the world champions, so 8.
That is.
Listen, before you say it, I know it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot towards Humble, but they are the world champions. People are going to be pressing that logo just because of the history that it has.
Exactly. I think this is just recency bias. We have to keep in mind that Tensai has won more World Finals than Humble. But yes, the crowd thinks Humble is going to repeat what they already did last year. Meeple is left open, immediately picked up here by Crazy Raccoon. We mentioned it at the beginning of the show, how Meeple was catapulted into top 3 in the meta just because of his hypercharge. He's super strong also thanks to his gadget on a map like Pinhole Punt. And as you said, Uber, even though I gave them some bad words about maybe they're not the best in Brawl Ball, Pinhole Punt is actually quite a good map for them.
Yeah, it's been one of their better ones in the lead up here, so ignore that sort of knockout Bell's Rock. As far as we understand, it is Brawl Ball, it is Pinhole Punt to start off the series. Chester picked up here by Humble. This is really heads up. This is one of Crazy Raccoon's go-tos, just very powerful. I really think that Chester's just the DPS monster in general, right? Especially now with that first shot getting empowered so much more by that selection of star power. And also a hypercharge that combines basically all of the kinds of supers you can get from Chester. It's kind of devastating no matter where it gets put down on the map. Byron here to round out, give you some sharpshooter pressure, some thrower capacity in a pinch can also be game-changing.
Absolutely. The hypercharge that comes along with Byron, if all teammates are kind of bunched up on the opposing side, is going to get a lot of connections and a lot of value as well. Ruff's going to come in then as well. Kind of expected at this point, I feel, with a lot of brawlers, especially ones who have really good hypercharges like Meeple. It's going to be a common brawler to see slide in.
Yeah, I'm going to say Milcrio often be on Ruff's duty here. Very powerful. Sandbags against those non-cleave or non-penetrative shots can be really powerful. And of course, being able to just instantly give hypercharge over to one of your teammates can be massive. We already saw Meeple get abused pretty heavily in that previous series. And here's the mode for Crazy Raccoon again. This is like a go-to for Boss. It's like one of his favorite brawlers to bring into some of these maps. So both of these teams are trying to take away some of their opponents' comfort picks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love the kind of versatility that the Mo brings to the table as well. The goal-scoring ability that brawler has is really, really solid. Hypercharge, speeding up that drop, like drilling into the ground and coming up really nice as well. So good to have. Ziggy's going to come through then. Going to be playing this thrower capability, shooting over some walls. We'll see how it plays out. I do like it. The Super's obviously going to be kind of covering a lot of the map, but I feel like it can be overwhelmed so easily.
Crazy Raccoon's comp, though, doesn't have a lot of hard all-in potential outside of the Mo, so if you are looking for the more mobile build of Ziggy with the teleport gadget, then you can probably stay safe from that super.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't leave the ball in a tough position if he's got that teleport as well, because he's just going to go for it, try play for that as well. Into the second game we go. It's Humble versus Crazy Raccoon rematch from the Grand Finals of 2024, and a good start for Humble as they get a player off the ball.
Yeah, you already saw that Mantis and Meeple gadget pop straight away, but Humble were pretty unbothered by it in general. And Luki, mechanical genius that he is going to be able to push up and pressure Moya, who at mid-range in this mini-Mo form is not really much of a threat. So Luki going to be very annoying and basically just babysit this Mo at base, throw that gadget down and make it very hard for him to get out of his own goal.
Yeah, well, wall's broken on the right-hand side here. I'm not sure who that's actually favouring. They've got, Ziggy on this side, but the Byron should be able to thrive in that situation. Chester not bad out in the open as well. A little pass forward, it bounces off that wall. I think they knew they couldn't score, but I think now they can. He's gone down. Semantic trying to get the damage in, and does. Few shots from Luke. He'll keep them in the mix, and a super there as well from both of them, as Tensai trying to escape, but can't.
Yeah, no escape from there. He also got hit by one of those Chester supers. It was the gas version of it, so he's going to tick down inside that Ziggy super one way or another. So again, Luki's looking for that aggressive, oppressive map control, but Tensai Super is going to allow him to fire through these indestructible boxes, and that Ruff's gadget is also going to clear a little bit of space. Mantis of Meeple means that Boss can't recover the ball right now either, so Humble need to be patient. Semantic's losing in the longer fight here against Moya and can't take him out of the left side corner. Crazy Raccoon are looking pretty scary here, and Tensai's going to send the ball forward. Luki's going to give up his life to try and clear it. He can't even touch.
I mean, that's a great defense from Humble there again. Once more, CR on this aggressive stance and doing a really good job of keeping them back in spawn and not letting this thrower get a hold on their side of the map. Hypercharge availed from Ruffs as well, but he's just choosing to go for a wall break. Making Ziggy play out in the open is not where Luki will want to be.
Another Mantis of Meeple. This one is not going to be able to ensconce Boss. He'll be safe outside of it. Now he's going to pop that hypercharge super. Moya does get hit by one of those shots. He's going to tick down for the time being. This should allow Semantic to play that much more aggressively. What super does Chester have? That's the question. Semantic wants to surge forward now. Luki's going to have a super ideally to give him some map control, but Milcreo is able to sidestep it for the most part. There's Tensai down. It was a hyper super, so it comes straight on back to Luki. And Semantic slowly starts to inch forward. Still no score yet in this round, and down to the last 10 seconds.
Milcreo grasping at straws there, just popping a hypercharge, trying to keep them in the mix, in the mid here before this overtime hits. Luki going to be out in the open, but Tensai throwing down the super, trying to get some work done. Knows he can't get any use of it when all these walls go down anyway. So just playing it slow. Luki super available, and that's going to be huge for zoning people in this situation. Boss finds a connection there as well onto the Meeple in the back. Moya is trying to defend the right. Boss here in the middle, not going to have an opportunity just yet. But Chester's still shooting out shots, trying to find the opening Meeple, throwing this mansion down, stopping the ball in its tracks, and allowing them to get back in the mix.
Moya, though, clipped there by Semantic. He's in a bit of trouble. Very, very low stat in the back of the goals. There's going to be an opportunity if Semantic pops that hypercharge. Tensai hit with the gas. It's too much to handle. Humble. Throw everything, including the kitchen sink at Crazy Raccoon, and finally break through.
I mean, that was really nice there from Humble. It was a 50-50 match, and this is the kind of thing you'd love to see after seeing domination from SK Gaming. I want to see Crazy Raccoon push back more, and I think the argument is there to say that they were in a much better position for the majority of that game, in a dominant position on Humble's side of the map. But we'll see if that can remain once more. Semantic trying to get the job done here on the right-hand side. He'll keep Milcreo out of the way, and some good taps from Boss will have Tensai burning all the way down.
Yeah, he's just going to tick down. There's not much he can do. Boss connecting multiple of those shots basically renders the enemy useless. Oh, nice clip on Milcreo. This is looking dangerous. Boss with a super. Clips onto Moya as well. That's going to keep the Mo out of the fight for even longer. Massive amounts of map control now for Humble, but it's a matter of converting this. And Boss wanting to dance as that rough gadget makes him move away from that ball's position.
I mean, this is where Ziggy wants to be in this position. They need to stop him from getting super on Moya, and Milcreo in those defensive lines will be affected by it. But Tensai boxing up Semantic and making him position that little bit better on the right-hand side, but a good splash from Boss comes in and he'll get the kill. Luki still raining down lightning on Milcreo in the back lines, but he switches his focus to Tensai in the super. Will be clipping Milcreo. Narrowly surviving, but pinned into the corner away from the action.
And he's low. It's taken him so long to get back into fighting form, and if he keeps taking this damage, it's going to be longer until the regeneration is actually able to kick in. Luki's making him dance, and Milcreo's got nowhere to go. A shocking reception there for the Ruffs as another super's thrown goalward. And all Tensai can do is wait for it to expire. Moya's been a bit of a thorn in the side here, but ought to be cleared in a few moments now as those Byron shots have been connecting, dropping the Mo low. He'll tick down to 60, and Semantic's looking for a finish now. Moya's got to play safe and still gets the elimination. Semantic getting ahead of himself.
Yeah, they need to get out now whilst one of Humble's players is down, but Luki's still pinning Milcreo back in spawn. Hypercharge available as well. Might be able to get good use on both of them here. Pops it, and that's going to be coming straight back to him as well. Milcreo just in the corner, might be able to survive. Stays there for now. Luki going to find it anyway, and the push forwards is there. A pass to the middle. Open goal for Semantic. 35 seconds for an answer.
As time goes on, this pressure just gets too much for Crazy Raccoon to handle. Luki cycling these supers, constantly forcing whoever's on the left side away. Milcreo's had to make a lane switch here with Moya, but I don't think that the Mo is any better positioned against this Ziggy. He's going to have the dance as well.
Well, pushing forwards now, Meeple's Mansion comes in, Boss going to be boxed out, and they can wait on this right-hand side. Surely, with the Ziggy shots over the top, he passes it to Milcreo, who will find the goal. Crazy Raccoon get the goal within 30 seconds, and as overtime hits, Ziggy should be struggling.
Here's that overtime now. The supers, though, available for Humble are pretty important. Luki's able to send that one in and just force Tensai away. Boss also has his super, one of the most favored brawlers in this endgame scenario. And Tensai's going to go for a hyper here, just try and empower his shots a little bit more, but Semantic's able to dodge away from them. Mantis of Meeple keeps Boss out of the game, but nice clip with that gadget shot onto Tensai will continue to lay him low. Moya trying to feign a level of aggressiveness here as Luki has got to have his wits about him. As soon as that Mo dive comes in, he's cooked.
Yeah, Moya wanting to try and get a super here, but over-aggresses a little bit. Gets hit by a couple of those shots from Luki and forced to retreat all the way. Meeple's Mansion on the right-hand side once more. Can't find anybody inside, and Tensai getting hit hard by Boss, who now has a hypercharge. Milcreo's going to put a super and a hypercharge of his own over to Moya, who wants to work so hard for this super now as he can get the game done. Semantic bouncing back and forward, but his hypercharge gets the kill, and Tensai moves the ball up plays for the draw, and there's no time for a humble answer. Semantic will throw the ball forwards, but nowhere near the goal, and Crazy Raccoon hold on.
Predator is due. Trav, Crazy Raccoon fighting very well from the back foot in so many of those situations. Moya's been put down to 60 health, has Semantic looming and still able to fall back and find that elimination on the Chester. Moments like that in sequence have kept Crazy Raccoon in this game, but now they've got to get on the front foot. They've got to start to dictate the pace of this game. Semantic there gets juggled around by Tensai and Milkrio's gadget.
And that's one way to start getting the pace on your side. Milkrio will get a nice gadget, as he said, and bounce Semantic towards themselves. Nice shots as well coming around the side from him, but they are forced to back off so fast. They were in a really good position off the start, and now back to this even playing field. Stalemate in the mid and a good few taps from Boss to keep them in the mix even more.
Semantic's got to be wary of these bouncing shots from the roughs. Milkrio's had his number in much of this lane assignment. There's Boss with another gadget, catching on to Tensai now. Luki trying to open up the map a little bit more with another super. But Moya's been good at dodging a lot of these lightning shots. Boss, though, has to respect just the incidental splash damage from Mo. Doesn't want to feed super for no reason, but here it is, people. Super and Mansion's combo. Gonna account for Boss. Short work made of Humble here as Crazy Raccoon now become the aggressor.
Much better from them. I couldn't really fault them in the last couple of games. Managed to drag a draw in the last one, and now fighting for a victory in this. 1-0 with 1:20 on the clock. Semantic trying to get some work done, but that Super's doing nothing in that situation. Just trying to cycle it out. Boss finds the kill and helps out Semantic through that mid lane. And now looking for a flank around the right-hand side of Milkrio.
Luki switching over towards the right side a little bit more, hoping to harass Milkrio down, and does catch him out. Here's Tensai though, pop super, and even in a gadget just to give a bit of breathing room, but that's very expensive. Use of resources for Crazy Raccoon to stay on even footing. They have the goal advantage though, and have no reason to rush.
Well, a surprise in the top right as well, with Nova winning 3-1 against Space Station, but in this game, Tensai getting pushed down, and Luki trying to throw the super out, try get the scoreline back to 1-1. Moya's still got a super in hand. That power-up's going to be wasted now, and Milkrio will have to work to provide him with another. Hypercharge popped, trying to get a super in the meantime, but can't find the shots just yet. Gets it, and will make use.
Gonna be able to give a hyper over to potentially, okay, Milkrio's just gonna eat that one back up yet again. Fair enough, needs the supply drop bonus stats and catches Luki with one of those shots. 20 seconds left in the round now for Humble to equalize, otherwise we are heading to a decider round in this first set. Semantic's able to get wide of all those shots coming in from Milkrio, but there it is, another hypercharge super comes in from the roughs. Moya climbs into Boss's, I don't know, oral cavity and cleans him up. 5 seconds left in the round here. Crazy Raccoon, nothing more to be done. They've got themselves an even game on Brawl Ball.
Yeah, really nice stuff from them, and this one started a bit faster and didn't fall behind, which is seeming what they were doing in the last few. Humble not looking as good. Had their moments, no opportunities to score in that one though, as Crazy Raccoon managed that a lot better this time round. And this one now will decide who wins the first set.
The way these comps interact is pretty complex and technical when you throw Meeple into the mix. Boss has to be very careful not to get caught in those gadgets, but they're really hard to dodge. Boss though sees it coming this time and is able to avoid it. Once again, it's going to be Semantic versus Milkrio on that right lane, but Tensai ultimately falls to the Byron in mid, and Luki has shoved Moya out of the map entirely. Now in possession of the ball, the healing super there from Boss keeps him topped up.
Absolute overkill there from Boss, but got to make sure that goal goes in. They want this lead early on again, and honestly, with how he's hitting shots, he'll be having it back in no time. Milkrio once more in a good position around the right-hand side, in the flank, and the bounces onto Semantic, and a bit of help from Boss goes a long way in keeping him back for a bit longer. Milkrio now has the break available, might just take his side out, as it seems to be working when he breaks up that map that little bit more.
Got another Mansions of Meeple there from Tensai, once again dodged out by Boss, who's been able to win this mid matchup more often than not, and has created the opening for Humble to surge forward on the field. Semantic finds a window here to pepper Milkrio down, taking quite low. Semantic healed up there by Boss in a pinch, and now the shots from the Byron will keep the roughs quiet on the right side.
Milkrio absolutely taking a risk there and gambling against the super of Semantic, hoping he doesn't have the bomb as he stayed aggressive and has healed up now. Gadget going to force Semantic back a little bit more, and the power-up is there for Milkrio to pick up, but he gets tapped by Boss a couple of times and forced to stand his ground. Moira on the left-hand side is just taking the shots of Luki, dodging them, and not getting much back himself.
Boss having big impact on this game, really leading the charge on the center of the map. Tensai's flattened by the Hyper Super. Gonna be tough for him to get out of this one alive. Does survive the last tick of that Byron damage, but Humble are surging forward. Milcreo goes a little bit low and Moy is being kept quiet as per usual by Lukey here. Mo's looking for a way in, but these shots are forcing him to sidestep and serpentine his way towards the middle part of the map. Milcreo pops Hyper, throws a super in. Mantis a meeple though. Will make it half a Semantic to advance, but Boss again wins that mid lane matchup, and Moya is one shot away from being taken down. 28 seconds left of the round, and Humble here have found a way into enemy territory. Now, they just need to hold this space.
The hypercharge goes down, and that's going to be coming back as well. Milcreo's going to fall. Moya, the last man standing here. Semantic gets the bomb, but Moya catches the ball. 15 seconds to get all the way up the other side, and they're going to concede as well. Humble take the first set.
Not a bad start for Crazy Raccoon here, but they knew this was going to be an uphill battle against the world champions. And Humble displayed that champion's resilience, being able to bounce back after a lost round here on Brawl Ball. Like I mentioned, Trav, it's a very technical matchup. You've got the Byron, who needs to balance doing damage with keeping people like Semantic healed up on that right side lane. Lukey on the Ziggy, though, looks really oppressive here.
Absolutely. I mean, Moya is a brawler who needs supers, and just having Ziggy just stopping him getting them entirely, we maybe saw a couple throughout that entire game, and a few of them were used defensively. So not mounting the attacks that he wants, not getting the goal scoring opportunities. And CR, they honestly played it well. I can't fault too much of the gameplay. But again, the suppressive nature of this Humble comp, the range of Boss in the mid that Tensai couldn't compete with, Humble sitting, Lukey sitting behind walls and dealing damage like that. There's not a lot they can do. And
there's a lot expected, I think, of your Byron player, right, who definitely needs to collapse onto those side lanes and sort of push your teammates to advantage there as well. I think Semantic at times was struggling a little bit dealing with Milcreo, right? The Ruffs is quite powerful now, especially the state that Brawl is in, especially with his shots that are able to bounce. But when Semantic finds the right super, he's really able to clean up. But you noticed a couple times he has to cycle him, right? He throws down like the area of effect slow on himself, just like, get rid of that super, I need to find myself another one. There is an element of variance that still is baked into Chester's kit that can make it feast or famine sometimes for that brawler.
Yeah, like I said during it, it's kind of like Milcreo was gambling with his super, just trying to hope that he doesn't have the bomb or stun in certain situations.
Because you don't know.
For him, he didn't, exactly. There's no way of knowing what super Chester has, so why not gamble against it a few times to try and take a risk against the world champions who, you know, I think it was 87% of people thought you were going to lose against.
I mean, that was a pretty wild vote difference, but you know, Crazy Raccoon, we were hoping last year in those World Finals to see a crazy performance from them, a really close game. We just didn't get that. It ended up being really underwhelming. Humble just had so much momentum built up and were able to bring it home. We're over to Hideout though here, of course, a pretty iconic bounty map, I'd like to say. You want those longer range sharpshooters to operate the side lanes, and you do want to invest in a brawler that can let you take that blue star off the rip. Kaze, Carl, Mortis, like we saw from SK Gaming, all pretty common picks.
Absolutely. Well, Hideout got to balance your comp really well, have a bit of long range, possibly a throw, and you say that aggression as well that comes in is really solid. Bans are there, the Grey, the Gene, and the Mina from the side of Crazy Raccoon don't want that aggression from the Mina, and who can blame him with that brawler at the moment? Jae Young, Ruffs, and Grey on the other side, so double ban for that really strong brawler. Obviously, the Walking Cane's so good, the TP, the Hypercharge, all pieces of kit that can be used so well in Bounty.
Potential.
But Gene taken away is pretty important here. Crazy Raccoon actually, bounced that one out here. They don't want to see that. Byron straight away opted for by Humble. We just saw what Boss was able to do on that brawler. Obviously, really benefits from these longer side lines. Might actually be playing a side lane here instead. We've seen brawlers like Bell also picked up because those nest eggs are really potent. Once you can get map control, anyone who walks into those basically instantly getting taken down. And the Jae Young ban, I think, is very heads up. I think that one's very much aimed at Crazy Raccoon. It's been a very popular pick, but for Milcreo, it's one of his favorite brawlers to bring onto this map.
Yeah, I mean, Humble obviously have that Byron, and how well they played it last game makes me a little bit scared once more for Crazy Raccoon. The Gus, again, really solid long-range brawler, has the capability of knocking people back in certain situations and staying alive. Kaze comes through again. It should be, as I said in the last one, it should be guaranteed first star for them, unless the opponents pick up a Mortis, which is kind of a bit of a jinx from me in the previous one, but in reality, you know, that's what you kind of expect.
Is Flying
with
Hook
that Kaze.
Carl faster than
I
the
actually
Kaze?
don't know. It might well be, but I'd be surprised to see that come through.
Yeah, that would be pretty surprising. Seeing that kind of all-in brawler against a Gus comp would probably be a bad idea, but Humble are not above going for some of these crazy picks throughout the drafts. So far, though, these have been very standard brawlers, very broadly powerful. Needful here is fantastic on the hideout, especially because those two sort of symmetrical bushes on either side of the blue star are a real feature of this map that is often played around. And Crazy Raccoon don't have any wall break here. It's unlikely you see that invested heavily in on this map, outside maybe the occasional Brock gets in here. I don't think that's a brawler that's been in vogue on hideout for quite some time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love the Meeple. You know, the ability to shoot through walls is one thing. Now being able to walk through them with the hypercharge as well is another. So you can, you know, reach kills, get kills that you wouldn't have been able to before. So really nice piece of kit, and then Nanny to go along with it as well. That
Just
long
classic.
range. It's just the long-range brawler that trumps every other long-range brawler.
Yeah, I think obviously, you know, Return to Sender as a gadget meant that Nani was a counter to sharpshooters in general for quite some time. There's ways to work around that ability, but you know, you've got to be careful, especially if you're trying to do something cheeky like, you know, hit a Kooky Popper, you know, explosion onto the Nani. Luki's always going to have that gadget option to prevent that damage and send it straight back. But Return to Sender is only good against those single large hits. So against Angelo, it's very, very good. It's actually one of the best things you could have. Angelo, a brawler with basically the highest single shot damage in the game, has to be very wary of that Nani gadget.
Absolutely. We've talked about that Nanny at long range, but let's not forget against Kaze as well, the burst damage that brawler can bring in at close range is very good as well. So Kaze are going to have to manage those matchups. They should be getting the blue star here, so they'll be playing on the defensive for the most part. But you know, if Humble manage to get a Meatball Super in those offensive lines, it's going to be so hard to defend.
Yeah, against two sharpshooters, that is terrifying. So blue star not contested at all by Humble, as Trav alluded to earlier. Tensai's already taken up in the bushes, and Boss wants to play a bit more aggressively in Milcreo's position. Look at this from Humble. They are absolutely adopting the role of aggressor as necessitated by a blue star on the red side. So much so they want to collapse the map and play the diagonal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tensai just sitting in here. It's going to be difficult to get him out unless Boss can find some connections elsewhere. So this matchup at the moment, heavily relying on that Semantic versus, well, I'm going to say it's Moya up top on the Angelo.
Yep.
And Luki now in a position to try and help his teammate out, provide some heals and get Tensai out that bush. He seems to be pivoting over left-hand side. Milcreo has a super, so found a lot more shots than anybody on Humble.
Yeah,
the return to Sender on the left will do a lot of work.
Boss almost fell to a Kooky Popper there. Thankfully, Luki's healing was absolutely on point. Really nicely done by the Byron so far, but Tensai doesn't want to leave this bush. Here's Moya with a super. Okay, peep time, Moya has to jump away from it, and he's not able to regenerate health in time. Semantic knows that matchup like the back of his hand.
That was so nice from Semantic, knowing he could eat that shot, pop that, obviously it's the star power that puts him in that shield, so knew he could win that matchup and time that to perfection as well with the jump away from Milcreo. He's just going to be able to have this lane on lock now, or at least he should with the range advantage.
Moya's done. He does not want to go up against the Nani. It is such a bad matchup for the Angelo. And so Semantic here is going to try and pepper Milcreo down. Moya, though, a bit more of a threat to Boss. That is not really where Meeple wants to find himself normally. Boss is flashing super. I like that aggressive moment. Alongside the PP, Moya's in deep trouble. Great eat there by Tensai. Keeps Moya alive, but Humble still have this star lead.
Semantic forced to use a return to Sender there to stay alive against Milcreo. And they're going to start aggressing now. We see another super come down from Tensai, and they both get out of it quite nicely, so not in too much jeopardy just yet. But backs against the wall and nowhere to go. Hypercharge there from Semantic, trying to get Milcreo down. Finds the connection, but he's not going to die. 3 seconds on the clock and trying to pinch. But a great Meeple gadget will keep them in the lead and bring the win back to their side once more.
And even though Humble's comp does not have the ability to sneak an early blue star, they abuse a very much winning matchup for Semantic to get that initial lead and then fall back. Tensai was virtually out in the open against that Meeple Super. Even though he was trying to slowly take map control with Fanstorm, the Meeple Super meant that everybody could shoot at the Kaze through the wall.
I mean, they don't have that aggression on the left-hand side at the moment they had in the last one. Not playing the diagonal game they once were, but a lot more evenly spread here. Boss going to require some heals, and Tensai going really aggressive. And feeding the lead straight back. Slight misstep from him, but needs to make up for it in the late game.
Yeah, not the kind of mistake you can afford to make at this level, though. Giving that blue star over, the Humble don't really have to work for it. Luki definitely dodging these shots coming in from the Angelo, but still needs to respect that high burst damage from the sharpshooter brawler. Tensai has to go invis for a time. Semantic definitely gets his boots quaking. And now he's able to move back in position with a peep at the ready. He is just waiting for one of those Crazy Raccoon brawlers to be taken low enough for the insta-kill.
Well, it's tough to question the two-time champ, but still waiting for him to get some work done here.
Oh, it's time.
And that's a great connection as well. Brings both of them into the grasp.
Good night.
Can he get a heal off in time? Oh, just manages to dodge out the way. Lukey forced to splash himself on the right-hand side. Will still be taking a few burning shots thanks to Moya's super there as well. And Boss has the super. Doesn't really want to use it here. Knows Tensai's in there. Slips out through in that invisibility and gets hit hard. Will be brought down. And yet again, it's Tensai's over-aggression.
And Boss places that super so both of those walls can be shot through. That is nicely located. Tensai here has to look in the direction of Semantic, but I would not want to challenge out the Nani. He just flattens Milk Rio, old-fashioned style. Beautifully done. Good gadget there by Boss, and nothing that could be done when Lukey throws that super in.
I mean, this is so tough. It really is for Tensai to get anything done. And now the Hypercharge is ready to roll for Semantic and Boss. Obviously, they're going to be buffing those base stats a bit less, but still able to get stuff like this done as Boss runs through the walls and can pinch pretty much all three lanes. Tensai goes down again. Milk Rayo's going to join him, and this is surely going to be the set. Moya got a mountain to climb all alone. Tensai trying to get there, but nowhere near stopping this Humble roster as they make it too.
I think once again, we've got to turn around and reacquaint ourselves with the draft phase of this second set, because Humble put together a strategy that is very, very hard to answer. They have great sustain, long-range pressure with the Byron, the king of sharpshooters in Nani, and of course this Meeple that can flip all of those engagements on their heads with well-timed supers. Semantic, though, frankly, styling on every matchup he got himself.
0-0-0. I mean, there's not a lot you can really say about that. Tensai fed a lot in that last one. And being, as I said during it, the two-time champ, we don't expect this kind of thing from him. But so tough to be able to do anything against three brawlers who it's really difficult to get within range of in the first place. And then to be able to secure the kills against, you know, Byron Splash and Nani at close range, and Meeple who's able to kind of maneuver so well around these walls and use them to his advantage. It's so hard. I mean, you know, you're putting yourself in a situation like that, which you shouldn't be. But you've got to kind of feel for him at the same time. And yeah, it's their draft. It's their fault they're playing this way. But we need to see more from them.
I think, like, you know, Moya made the correct decision opting out of the Nani matchup and going up against Lukey. But Boss, much the same way he did on Brawl Ball, is able to pop super and collapse onto a side lane. Right? He's very, very good at just creating a virtual 2v1 with one of his side laners in order to give his team the edge. It's really a matter of time until that happens. Previously, it was with Byron supers. This time it's with those Meeple supers. The idea is much the same. And Lukey didn't have to overextend into the Angelo matchup. Try and trade some shots. Don't get picked off. Use that super on himself when he had to. And let Semantic be a bully on the left.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Pit Stop's up next. We're going to go back to some aggression. Not that, to be fair, that was quite aggressive for a game of Hideout. But we're going back to some aggression on Pit Stop. Bit of heist along the way. And Milk Rayo's still somehow all smiles, even though he's 2-0 down in a really tough match here against Humble. But, you know, as I said, you know, they're a team who require this uplift that he brings with his happy attitude, and that's exactly what you need at 2-0 down.
I think Crazy Raccoon are also thinking a little bit about the rest of their group, right? This is definitely the most formidable opponent that they could be running into. Outside of that, it's Tribe Gaming and SK Kalala, so you know, I think they're probably feeling pretty decent about the rest of this sort of Group B assignment. And they knew that Humble would be a difficult team to push over early. Heist, very interesting game type, and Pit Stop is probably the most compelling of those maps. It's one where we see more of those all-in strategies drafted than any other Heist arena.
Yeah, and I love it so much as well. We see Lily banned out, Miko banned out, no surprise on those two roughs along with it as well. A brawler that can bounce shots just like a Rico, round walls, break up the map, power up his teammates. Really nice to see that out of the way. Kaze, I'm sure actually after the previous performance, I'm sure Crazy Raccoon will like to see that banned out of the way, along with the Miko and Berry over the other side. We're going to see Cordelius picked up first, so they're not going to go for that all-in. They want to play the defensive stance on it.
Yeah, very reasonable, of course. And even, you know, the jump gadget, the replant, you know, for Cordelius allows him to get around the map fairly well. But this basically says, do not play Chuck against us. Don't bother going for, you know, that cheese, any sort of all-in strat. And there are also, if you try and take like Bull, for example, he can struggle against these Cordelius-based setups. Cordelius got a slight nerf in Super. He actually had his move speed reduced a little bit, so harder for him to chase people down. But when used defensively, I think it's still a very effective tool. The Meeple can't argue with this. And if you can get in an aggressive position and invalidate those natural walls on the map, it's going to be hard for Crazy Raccoon to prevent safe damage from coming in.
I mean, I genuinely do think it might be a bit hard to make work for the rest of the game. You're going to need your super to be cycled, constantly have that ability to shoot through these walls, walk through them as well. For the rest of the game, I don't know if the angles or range is too good for him, to be honest with you. So we'll see what Crazy Raccoon do choose to pick afterwards. We see the Carl come in here as well. I've got no complaints about that. Love to see that Brawl. The heat ejector onto the safe is a great thing to deal some damage as well. So something that Crazy Raccoon are going to have to be cautious about.
Yeah, I feel like Humble give themselves a all-in option without picking a brawler that has to play that way all the time. Carl's still very reasonable at mid-range as well.
Absolutely. I mean, this is going to be a tough one for Crazy Raccoon to win. They've kind of veered away from this really aggressive stance that they seem to be going on. So Cordelia is going to be kind of sat in a defensive position trying to get some work done. Buzz is on the flip side, the complete opposite. That's absolute aggression and good against the Carl, which I like to see.
I mean, having that raw stopping power against Carl is very, very important. And obviously with Hypercharge, Buzz can cross the map in a pinch. You often see those supers chained together one after another to cover great distance and give yourself some pretty terrifying potential in those team fights. Crazy Raccoon now needs it. Yeah, they go for the chuck themselves. They take away the counter pick, and then they pick the Brawler that Cordelius is designed to counteract. I'm not sure if Humble would have seen this coming.
Yeah, what do you have to go now? You're looking at the other things that can kind of delay it a little bit. Charlie can delay, not as well as Cordelius can stop, or you just go something like the Melody and run it down as well. Try do the same thing that they're doing to you, but a bit faster, because it's going to take Chuck a while to get set up on the map like this, or at least perfectly. But then again, you've got Moya with it coming in. All right, okay, we see you.
That is wild. It is such an iconic pick, I feel. For Lukey, the dynamic Michael has hit the field. Of course, this is a Brawler who will nuke the safe, basically, given any option. But remember, the changes to Heist, now that the safe has shields at each 25% increment, it's hard to have a full all-in. You can't end the round on one single push. But Humble are going to try and just bully through some map control, but I want to see how this Dynamite is able to get past some of what Crazy Raccoon are working with.
Well, Lukey's just ripped a double jump on his off. He's actually going to be using the fidget spinner. Not going to be using that stun, which is quite surprising, but wants to stop Milkrayo early in his tracks. They're just going to let Moya go, try get a bit of damage themselves, and Dyna on the safe is going to be a real issue at this stage. What can they do to stop it?
You can't out-damage Dynamite on your safe. This one is going to be very hard to deal with. Moya, though, gets some good damage, but already we have a Meeple super being cycled, and this is looking about as close to all-in as you can get from Humble. They do chunk Crazy Raccoon's safe down below that 50% mark, but Crazy Raccoon on the crackback do have their chuck here. Moya's able to throw some damage down, so this is going to be pretty even.
Yeah, I mean, Moya's just going to ignore them, not going to go for the kill, try stay up in this aggressive position here, and he's going to come out right in the middle of all three of them. Semantic, Hypercharge used, and a good gadget to keep Boss alive there as well. Tensai up top, gets the Dynamite down, and Moya will burn back to spawn. And it's bang on even now in percent.
Very close game, and now they've got to outrace this Chuck. Humble have to decide if they're going to play defensive or just go for broke here. Here's that Chuck pressure down on this side. Crazy Raccoon have to leave for now. Humble's down to 29%, and with Boss getting picked up there, I think that was a lean back with resignation. He realizes that Crazy Raccoon has been given too much rope to work with now. Humble, this is a struggle now to stay alive in this game, and Milkrayo is going to ignore them. Just go after the save. Humble's strategy falls flat midway through that round.
Absolutely. I mean, when you saw them kind of bring that Cordelius back and deal with the offense that Humble are trying to mount, it was a completely different game. Real nice stuff from them. It was a good start from Humble, but maybe overcommitted that tiny little bit.
I mean, it's easy to be tempted into doing so. You know your Dynamite is at his best when he is going to town on that safe. But maybe just ignoring the Cordelius and disrespecting Moya to some degree proved to be their undoing. With the longer they play this neutral game, Trav, the longer Milkrayo has to set up these posts.
He had a really good setup last time as well. He was hitting the safe both times. He was bouncing back and forwards. Boss and Lukey on the safe, but the same goes for Tensai and Milkrayo down the bottom. They get the crack first. They do have a slight advantage, but Semantic unable to get the kills just yet, and Tensai going to get that down. Moya taking him into the realm, and they get the crack as well, but it's the same over the other side.
Semantic can't defend this 1 versus 2, whereas Crazy Raccoon are able to use Moya to dig Lukey out. He's got very good damage on this safe, but he's going to be pressured down, and the more shots Lukey takes, the longer it'll be before he heals up to full again.
I mean, that should be a kill, but he jumps over it really nicely, but Milkrayo can't get to the safe in time, and he will fall. Boss now surely going to try and mount an offense, but can't really against the Buzz. And we just see Lukey taking a bit of a back seat for a second there as well. Gets within range of him, and now going aggressive is the Chuck, and they've already got the crack. Great, Humble don't, and that's surely going to be the game. 1% left, Milkrow actually comes back, but they still get it. And 15 remains on Crazy Raccoon's side as they get the set.
It was only a 5% difference, right? Humble's safe was down to 25, Crazy Raccoon's was at 30, but because there was another shield stage left for Crazy Raccoon's safe, Humble couldn't afford to go too aggressive. But they just ignore the chuck, they let him go, they say, we can't chase him, we're midway through the map already. And for a team who we've insisted have some weak drafts, that was very well executed. Almost demonstrating they had no interest in playing Chuck and denying him from Humble with the Cordelia's pick. They round out their comp with that very brawler, the menace of Heist, and they use him to great effect. Over 106k safe damage from Milkrow.
Absolutely, and not just that, they double down as well, right? They take the Cordelia's first, and then they double down on 2 brawls they'd be very good against, going towards that safe and getting the damage that we saw. I love the fact that Lukey tried this Dynamite, and it did well, don't get me wrong. I feel like it was the defense that seemed was lacking a bit from Humble. Meeple, the stats, very good, but I didn't feel like it did masses, to be honest with you. Struggled on the defense, and he's the one that was there for the most part.
Yeah, you can see how this sort of plays out. They're in a good spot here, Crazy Raccoon, but Moya is able to defend them really well. First, Humble let the Cordelias get through and they say, okay, we can outrace him. They don't realize that Moya cracks the safe and then walks back up the map instead of staying there. I don't think Humble are ready for that. All of a sudden, Cordelias is able to pick them off, and then Semantic is often spawning 1v2 against, Milkrow, at least, and often Moya. And that's just not a matchup that Meeple's going to be able to win. He just dies off reach, or just dies to the buzz, right? Gets supered straight away and gets picked off. So, great draft here for Crazy Raccoon, but also just some of those small decisions, especially that Moya makes as kind of the pivotal brawler in that composition, really pays off.
Yeah, and you can see those smiles starting to return to his teammates' faces along with his there. Milkrow, as we've mentioned a few times, his happy nature really keeps them in this, and I think Dave said it before as well. Humble, still only 1 off from taking this series and knocking Crazy Raccoon down to the lower bracket of their group, but they're more than back in it now with that great performance. And as you said, it's not common we kind of are praising those drafts from the East Asia region, but that is one time where we can.
I was impressed, that's for
Absolutely.
sure. Good to see Crazy Raccoon have got something up their sleeve, especially going up against the final boss in their first game here at Worlds. Knockout, of course, going to be our game type for our 4th set. It's going to be off to Bell's Rock for us. Some of these brawlers like Ollie, still very popular here. Ziggy's definitely had a rise up in these knockout maps, as well as Angelo and any of those sharpshooters. You might see teams try and work, other throwers here just to collapse the map if possible. Wall break is going to be pretty crucial here, though, as well. Maybe to turn those 2 lanes into 1.
Well, the tick is going to come rolling on in then as well. Nice early pick of the thrower. Definitely taking the one with the longest range quickly and not letting their opponents have it. I don't mind that at all. But as always, you're leaving yourself susceptible to just constant aggression at that point. RT's going to come in. It's another one of those brawlers that's just...
Let's go!
Has it all. It's got the range, it's got the mark, it's got the short range required for the late game battles, and Brock to sculpt the map to how they want it, maybe choosing not to go for a thrower, or might go for a bit of a surprise one at the end if they need to.
Honestly, and Crazy Raccoon's most played comp on their knockout maps have been Grey, RT, and Brock. Grey banned away by Humble, RT and Brock picked up by them here. So they're going to put this East Asian squad in a bit of an uncomfortable position in terms of brawler selection. Boss has the wall break to kind of nullify the thrower aspect of Crazy Raccoon's lineup, but they go with the Nani, of course, who's going to be looking to win any of those sharpshooter matchups possible. Humble might have to start thinking about now how they actually close the gap on this Crazy Raccoon composition.
Absolutely. Well, Crazy Raccoon, last pick, still here. Got to be cautious. I mean, obviously, they've kind of accounted for the fact that they're going to be breaking the map and playing some range now as well, but with Humble still having this last pick, they could go hyper-aggressive. You leave yourself open to it. Byron comes in then, got the heals, got the range to be able to fight these brawlers out in the open and when it's a bit more closed off as well. So Humble's last pick still coming in 20 seconds to make this selection, and it's a question of whether or not they just go aggressive or maybe play a thrower or keep this range.
Yeah, it's a tough question, right? If you take a thrower, you need to be able to beat out the range of the tick, but there are no really conveniently placed bushes in order to allow you to play the Juju. Could go for the Ziggy, I guess. Could only some of that map control, but I kind of like this.
Right?
I was almost thinking of like even something crazy like Buster to try and close the gap and punish these sharpshooters, but Max is going to give you the option to come forward and get more aggressive. Remember, the map's going to be opened up a little bit by this Brock, so you will have that kind of avenue of going hard to engage against this Crazy Raccoon lineup. But I think Humble have to play the neutral game perfectly here. Otherwise, they're going to be down a player before they can really start to execute their game plan.
I mean, they've got to somehow get to these max supers before giving the Tick too much value, where he's going to be able to get those supers off, the hypercharged supers to defend, waste those phase shifts, and stop you in your tracks. So we'll see if Luki's going to be able to do just that. The wall break nice and early on for Semantic to give himself a bit more room to evade these shots, but he's not going to be loving life against a Nani.
No, it's a brutal matchup, and Nani can just respect these incendiary fields and continue to send these shots in one after another. Semantic has to give a lot of ground. Luki's also got to be mindful of a potential pinch from Moya. That's why that phase shift was used there already. And Boss doesn't have a whole lot to do except sort of trade this out. Oh yeah, map not fully opened up. Semantic gets taken down. And this is what I mentioned, Trav, about the neutral game having to be pretty spot on for Humble. They make one misstep and they lose to these matches of outrange. They're dealing with these sharpshooters on the other side.
Luki needs to work for his super now for the next round, because this seems like a losing battle. 3 supers on the other side. Boss no super, Luki no super. Will he even fight it? Phase shift goes wrong as well, and he still finds that burn damage landing directly onto him. He's got a little bit of health left, but choosing not to heal up just yet. Spamming out every single shot. Tick super's even being used to try and secure this one, and it should do just that. Moya's low. Boss can't find anything, and all 3 members of Crazy Raccoon stay alive, and Humble left wondering what they're going to do.
Humble now can start the round, though, with an opened up map. They need to make use of this. Luki has that super, but may only have one opportunity to get a good engage possibility on Crazy Raccoon. Semantic also left that one square there, which is something that Tensai can use to hide behind and try and have advantage in these sharpshooter matchups. Lane switch now. You notice that the Tick has moved to the right, allowing Milkrayo to set up here to pressure Boss down. Boss in a 1v2 against 2 brawlers that match his range pretty effectively.
Well, Speed's there to try and get himself another one as well. Needs to cycle those and can't, but they get a good amount of control here. Return to sender will almost bring Boss down, and a peep coming in as well. Luki's going to have to tank that one, and I don't think he's got the phase shift. Semantic might end up eating it instead, and he does. He's low over the right-hand side. Tensai smelling blood and trying to go for it.
Oh, that second shot would have been the end of Luki. He's able to dodge away from it. That hypercharge super for Milkrayo flattens Boss. Not much to be done about that. Semantic falls. Tensai didn't even need the head first. And this is going to be a pretty convincing showing for Crazy Raccoon on knockout. A powerful comp that does powerful things, and Humble can't really stop them.
Well, this could have been, I mean, it looks like the big start of a comeback that they just mounted. Milkrayo getting hyped up as well, as we expect from him, hyping his teammates up and just being the all-round happy guy that he is. You need that in situations like this when you're trying to mount a comeback, and it's really paying off for Crazy Raccoon here as Humble seem out of this set.
And Luki was able to get map control off that first super, right? Push up, start to aggress, but eventually that ground had to be given up, and Crazy Raccoon simply took control of the game from there. So there's got to be another layer to the game plan for Humble outside of just the max super. You need to do something with the map control you've given to your Brock and your RT.
Yeah, I mean, that is the question. What is the game plan? We haven't seen anything from them that would make you think that they're going to make any big things happen. Semantic back over to the right-hand side. Once this Tick matchup needs to break open that right little wall there as well to give himself a bit more breathing room, and does. Tensai still just sitting here, raining down shots, and it's more of the same. They can't move.
And Luki's not getting any damage. Enough to charge that super up. Has to stay at max range, excuse the pun, outside of what this Byron can do. Now Luki's forced to play forward. Has super at the ready, but Boss is going to get picked off. Moya's Pete does all the work it needs to, and Luki's almost dead to one of those mines. Semantic should bleed down to poison, and that's going to be the end of Luki momentarily. Humble have no way into this game.
I mean, this is the round that's going to decide if we go to a set 5 or if Humble will try and hold on for this 3-1. This max speed needs to do so much, and he's really not going to be able to do much with it. Semantic going to have to walk over about 10 tick mines to try and get an attack going, but falls so low in the process. Hypercharge being kept then for the Nanny for a later date as he just uses this peep as it circles around and actually opens up the wall a bit more for Humble there.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to peep a Max, right? Max very, very quick on her feet. Able to dodge away from that, but that is where, Moya's been sending that super most of the time. Luki's been able to dodge it on both occasions, but where is the map control for Humble? Where is the game plan? Milkrayo's got a hypercharged super. Tensai as well with an empowered head first is going to be very hard to beat. And so Crazy Raccoon are biding their time. There is no rush here for the East Asian squad.
And there doesn't have to be. Triple hypercharge is ready to roll for their side. And Humble have just been standing watching for almost the entirety of it. Hypercharge super comes in now. Luki's going to have to dash through that, but get pinned in spawn in the meantime, which means Tensai should get some shots. Boss hit by the hypercharge peep. up in the left-hand corner. Semantic trying to go aggressive, finds one connection, but Luki bounced back into another shot. And Semantic, the only remaining player of Humble, gets taken down. And we're going to a step 5.
And Trav, that was not remotely close. Crazy Raccoon from start to finish on that set were the dominant team. And now, yeah, absolutely, you're starting to feel that energy. Whereas on the Humble side of the stage, looks like the air has been sucked out of the room. It's kind of tough to play at a full set of Brawl Stars when you feel like you've been beaten in the draft phase. Kind of have to walk with your head down straight back into the game after getting clapped round after round. A pretty disgraceful scoreline, I think, for Humble. Not one elimination to them, but crucially, at no point do they put any pressure on Crazy Raccoon.
It's looking bleak at the moment, it really is. Their heads are down and Crazy Raccoon's heads are as high as they've been. Real tough. 0 kills across this entire set is not the way you want to go into the deciding one. And Milcreum absolutely flying high right now, in a really good position to try and close this one out, reverse sweep the world champions and get their revenge from last year.
So if I had to ask you what the plan was for this Humble composition.
I was about to ask you the same thing.
No, I beat you to it, bro. Answer the question, Trav.
I mean, obviously it was revolving around the max, being able to just tank some shots, dash up, but every time he had speed, no use was made out of it. They couldn't move because there was about 10 tick mines in front of Semantic when he tries to provide it. And if he goes forward there, he dies, and Luki's hung out to dry.
You're playing RT, right? So there's almost like a late game plan, at least in the back pocket for you, where RT is quite powerful, but in what we call the neutral, right? Before the map gets broken up, before the gas closes in, RT has good range, right? Has a gadget that can help secure eliminations if required, but he doesn't do a whole lot against Nani and Byron. Certainly feels like Crazy Raccoon had comp from the outset. And that is definitely a subversion of the narrative that we really peddled about these East Asian teams, not just this year, but honestly for the last couple of years. That's been a big step up for a Crazy Raccoon that had to fight tooth and nail to even get here. Had to fight through a brutal LCQ, had to reverse sweep Casa Brawl in front of a Brazilian crowd. I don't know anybody who's going to be excited about that prospect. And now they've given themselves the chance to steal the series away from your reigning world champions.
I mean, this is the thing as well. How many times have Humble been in this position where they're at an event and it's this close? They're usually walking over teams, only dropping a set here and there.
They said, I sat down with them and they said, we need to figure out what it's like to play from behind. Because at Worlds last year, we never had to do this. We always had momentum and it felt like we were fated to win. Now, we get to see a little bit more of what Humble can do when they're up against the wall.
Yeah, pressure's on and the bans are here. Juju, Draco and the Hank coming in from Humble. Over the other side, Hank going to be double banned out along with the Meeple and the Mina from their side. So Humble with the first pick, not able to get any of the ones that I'm sure they will have wanted. But it's obviously such a control-based game mode. I honestly don't know who's going to win it. You'd expect Humble to be doing pretty well on a game mode like this, but Crazy Raccoon have all the momentum on their side. Finks coming in as the first, and I really like that.
Feels like a pretty iconic brawler for this team. Humble have always looked to pick up the Finks on these hot zone matches when possible. Open business, of course, is pretty challenging because the side lanes can be used pretty easily by any of those longer range brawlers. And there's also, we've seen, compositions drafted just to break this map open entirely. We've seen like Nita, for example, to push ahead aggressively, Frank just to blow the walls up. A lot of Byron mixed in here and there. Good to see that the Draco banned out here. Both teams have made extensive use of that brawler in scrims. But the Ruffs turns up yet again. Such an important centerpiece and also a brawler that doesn't telegraph your comp intention whatsoever.
Well, it's funny you mentioned. I was literally about to say, this is the place where the iconic Frank Berry came ripped out and did such a good job. Luki on that brawler is absolutely ridiculous, and this comp with this team is a force to be reckoned with. So we'll see if that's the kind of route they do tend to lean. But the Crow was picked up by Crazy Raccoon on the other side as well to play a bit more of that range along the way. So if the map gets broken up, and I'm sure it will by the Ruffs, the Crow should have a pretty decent time.
Now, Juju's banned here. We've often seen Finks combine with that. You go Larry and Laurie as a thrower option. It's less common to see on this map, but actually has a really high win rate on open business when it's been picked up. It's going to be the Frank, though, that's taken instead. So you've got this wall break, and you've got this inherent sustain, plus speed boosts for the Frank being supplied by the Jaeyong. So really well-rounded composition for Humble, but doesn't necessarily have these huge moments of burst damage here. They're really going to be sticking to their fundamentals with this setup.
Yeah, well, clearly things have pivoted, as I mentioned just before, as the Berry Frank that I was expecting, but a different healer. Support Brawler is going to be rolling on in then with that and the Jae Young. Lumi rounds out the Crazy Raccoon roster. I like that. The Hypercharge can cover so much ground, lock people in place, and deal some nice damage. So Crazy Raccoon, solid composition. If they can get this map broken up, Humble going to be trying their hardest to not feed that Ruffs.
Yeah, for Humble, it's very much about staying alive for as long as possible, just accruing that capture percentage. Once the Finks can put a super field down, you can dodge away from a lot of those projectiles. I do think the Frank has to be careful of Lumi Gadget. That Grim and Frostbitten is a real problem for those slower brawlers, or the ones who want to close the gap. This game, folks, is anyone's. It comes down to a fifth set decider between your world champions Humble in a world championship rematch in 2024 Grand Finals. Looks a lot more interesting here in 2025.
Yeah, a little bit of Frostbite on the right-hand side there, and Semantic slipping and sliding, now caught in a bit of a tough situation, but Humble have control of the middle, and Boss doing a good job of keeping Milkrayo back and not feeding him. There's the Weekend Warrior dealing some good damage as well, and back to heals we go as Luki is going to require them.
Pretty easy to underestimate the burst damage that Jae-Young has access to with that Weekend Warrior gadget. The activation causes an AoE field of damage, and then your shot is empowered. Definitely something that's pretty scary. The problem for Crazy Raccoon is that they not spend much time on the point here. Boss, oh, that is dirty stuff. Another fantastic gadget activation. Able to win it out there against the Crow. And Milkrayo is too low to contest. Luki, so hard to shift, and Semantic has been dancing this entire round. He and Tensai are basically playing their own side game of Brawl Stars.
And Semantic's not going to mind that at all. He's in a position where he's just chilling in the right-hand side and his teammates are doing well, so why change it? And I'm surprised Tensai hasn't moved out the way, tried to get Milkrayo over there, you know, deal some damage, get your super, we'll break the map, because nothing's changing at the moment, and Boss is still holding his own on the left. Might need some heals here for Luki as well, but he's surviving and living on.
Semantic being able to tie up the Lumi is massive here. Tensai would much rather be throwing these Morning Stars at the point itself, but they have to respect what Frank can do. It was a Hypercharge super there thrown down by the Ruffs, or at least the supply drop super to empower Moya or Tensai. But Boss has just been dipping a toe onto the point here and there, being really hard to shift. Luki, much the same. Eventually the Jae-Young goes down, but Humble have enough of a buffer here to take their time, and Semantic has finally built a super.
I mean, how many supers is he going to throw on Semantic, and he's still stood there? I don't know if he's even doing anything at all, but he's there, he's being annoying, and Boss back on the zone now, has a Hypercharge as well. Luki trying to move up, here's the Hypercharge, and this might be the point where they lunge in, but just waiting, keeping control, and why not? Because Crazy Raccoon are doing nothing about it.
This is how Hot Zone is supposed to be played. Humble are issuing a challenge to Crazy Raccoon. Come and challenge us, force us off the point, take some risks in order to get back into the game. Boss here has to deal with the gadget now. Milkrayo has that Hypercharge ready to go. Map's getting broken up as Luki wants to step forward. Semantic finally falls here. Humble's starting to lose control of this game bit by bit now. It's Crazy Raccoon who are looking to get themselves into the lead. Semantic needs a Hyper Super but might not have a chance to build it before the round is done. He'll open up the map instead, and now Humble have one last chance to take control. But Luki's flattened instantly. Crazy Raccoon looking for another challenger. Eventually run over the top of Humble.
I mean, somehow it looked all Humble. Eventually Semantic made the move and everything crumbled from there. Frank gets decimated, he gets supers, he gets power-ups, his teammates stay alive, and they play that long game so perfectly well. Crazy Raccoon just one off reverse sweeping the world champs.
Back we go, folks. Jae-Young and Finks here in the mid. This time Semantic is opting to play a different side of the map. Has to contend with the Grim and Frostbitten gadget. Sliding on about, but still finds himself in a safe spot. Boss wins out against Tensai, though. The Lumi struggling a little bit more against the Jae-Young. Nice gadget use there from Semantic to draw Milkrayo into his demise.
I mean, he's forced them to open up that left-hand side, which I don't know if that really helps the Ruffs anymore. And now he's just gone to the right, plays the same game that he was playing against Tensai in the previous one, but allowed his teammate to have maybe a bit more footing on the left. He is getting pinched in, and Lumi having a bit of a better time, locked down, and that should be a super provided to the Ruffs, and a power-up to one of his teammates. But Boss will get that kill and stay alive for a little bit longer, but Luki, TP's back, not going to survive, but they've got good percent.
And again, we saw this from Humble already. They had a good start in their previous round, but they let that lead slip, and they couldn't regain it. So very quickly, they're going to need to assert themselves once more. The map is opened up on the left side. It's going to be harder for Semantic to avoid this damage from Tensai now. Eventually, he'll have to properly challenge the Lumi. But Moya's fallen to Luki, and that super is now in play for the Finks. So easy to dodge those projectiles, or at least you would think that's the case. But Milkrayo was hitting those taps, and here now, the map's going to be opened up even more. Another Hypercharged super. For Moya to earn a Hyper, should it be required? And Milkrayo now is really pushing up.
Semantic round the backside, gets locked down, and Lumi surely deals with him, but he gets the kill, and Boss through the middle gets one as well. Everything falls for Crazy Raccoon. Milkrayo just narrowly surviving, but eventually a pinch of Luki and Boss will get him back to spawn. Now, just sitting on the mid, little time warp in there as well, keeps them in the mid for a little bit longer and buffs this zone so much for them.
Semantic's zone is hypercharged. This is big. He's had to make space and use his health pool as a resource, but it's given Humble 82% on the point. Boss, though, has got a backup. Wait now for reinforcements. Semantic can make his way through. Evidently doesn't have hypercharge to work that was used earlier, maybe for the raw stats to try and stay alive. Yet much less shield in this day and age. Crazy RACCOON have been able to equalize the score now, 83% and counting. Humble have to make a play. Boss trying to come forward. Weekend Warrior for extra damage, but that Grim and Frostbite's going to make it hard to pass. No chance here for Humble to break through. A Crazy RACCOON vanquish the ghost of their past, taking down your world champions in 5 sets in their debut match in Stockholm.
Well, you said what they wanted to know, how it feels to play from behind. Now they've got a taste of the whole thing. They've got a taste of losing at LAN for the first time since I think they've been a team. Incredible reverse sweep by Crazy RACCOON. Humble, they held for so long, but eventually Crazy RACCOON break through in both games and mount an incredible comeback against the world champs.
We talked about it. Their strategy is about being consistent, about having broadly strong brawlers that are hard to shift. But when it comes to those shock and awe moments, the moments where you have that burst damage, that all-in potential, Crazy RACCOON have the Crow. They have the Lumi as well with filthy damage output. And Tensai and Semantic fighting their own battle for much of the game. We ended up seeing Lumi emerge victorious, being able to impact the hot zone itself.
Last time those two teams faced off against each other, it was a 3-0 for Humble. A very quick match. Uber, you mentioned how they said in the interview already, we don't really know how to play when we're on the back foot because that just usually doesn't happen. Humble were meant to be the winners of this one here as well. Many people have voted for them. Many people see them as the world champions this year again. And now we see Crazy RACCOON is going to be up against Tribe Gaming next in Group B. And Crazy RACCOON on the other side, they had such a rough year. Nobody expected them, or I think it was 17% expected them to win against Humble today. They had a reverse sweep against Casa Brawl already at the Brawl Cup. Now a reverse sweep also against Humble. It seems like they feel super comfortable when they're in the back foot.
The drafts look a lot better, right? I don't think they were on the back foot a whole lot in this series, really. First couple of sets looked a little bit shaky, but I was really impressed with the way they drafted. The Cordelia's opener and then the Chuck closing pick there on high stuff, for me, was emblematic of this team's development in their approach to the game outside what happens in the match.
I mean, for me, it kind of seems like they started drafting well after they were 2 down. So the amount of reverse sweeps they've pulled off recently in these tense, difficult moments for them, I think you've got to say they're a team who loves playing from behind.
It looks like Humble loves to just sweep everyone 3-0. That's what they're good at, also at the Brawl Cup, but not today, unfortunately. Casa Brawl and now also Crazy RACCOON. Casa Brawl and now also Humble were reverse swept by Crazy RACCOON. They really feel comfortable when the pressure's on. And the pressure is also going to be on for our next 2 teams. We're now heading over to Group C. We have 2 EMEA teams. They know each other. It's going to be such a close match. It's Team Heretics versus Reply Total.